guys, welcome back to my channel. Thank you for tuning in for my video on Nikola Tesla, one of my favorite innovators, or how would you call them, inventors. I think he was way ahead of his time, and today I want to talk about his personal life and his career achievements. I want to learn together with you about the things he invented and who bullied him in America. Spoiler alert, it was Edison. He was always jealous of Tesla because he was smarter. You will see why. And unfortunately, Nikola had a pretty rough end of his life because he passed away in a hotel room and alone. And before that, he was feeding pigeons, which is not bad, but some people speculate. I mean, they don't speculate, but Nikola told this himself that he fell in love with a pigeon. We're going to talk about that as well. I'm going to explain how I see that, and I don't see it as a bad thing. So Nikola Tesla was born in 1856 on July 10th. So he was a Cancer. And he was born in the village of Smiljan in present-day Croatia. His father, Milutin Tesla, was a priest of the Eastern Orthodox Church, and his mother, Georgina Mandic, was a sort of inventor herself because she created homecraft tools and mechanical appliances such as a mechanical egg beater, despite never receiving a formal education. So this woman was quite impressive. Just as her son. His father, on the other hand, wanted Nikola to become a priest, but luckily for us and all of humanity, Nikola had other plans for his life. A little known fact about Nikola is that he had 4 siblings, which was one brother by the name of Dane Tesla. He was older than Nikola and died in a horse riding accident when he was around the age of 12 or 13. His death, as you can imagine, negatively impacted Nikola and his family, especially since some reports suggest that Nikola may have been present during the incident. So you can imagine what this accident did to Nikola at an early point in his life. It was probably very traumatic. And his other 3 siblings were females. So he had 3 sisters, Milka, which is also the name of my grandmother, who is passed, Angelina and Marica Tesla. But there's not much information about their lives documented. However, we do know that they got married and lived traditional lives in their rural Serbian Orthodox community. It's also believed that Milka, one of his sisters, had a daughter named Gina, while Angelina was the mother of 4 kids, including Peter, Nikola, Marica, and Mica. His 3rd sister, Marica, also had kids, including Ljubisha, Milun, Dragisha, and Sava. Nikola Tesla, as you already know, has never been married, so there aren't any living descendants that we know of. However, one person that we know for certain was a descendant of Nikola Tesla is the grandson of his sister Angelina. His name was William H. Turbo, and he was a notable engineer and inventor. William served as the executive secretary of the Tesla Memorial Society. He was also recognized as Tesla's closest living relative until his passing in 2018. The reason why Nikola Tesla never got married is very interesting. It's not that he didn't believe in marriage and love, but because he thought that personal relationships, especially romantic ones, could hinder his work, as it has done to many other great scientists in the past. And he also believed that his work mattered more than his personal happiness. However, later in life, Nikola acknowledged that not marrying and having kids was one of the biggest sacrifices he has made for his career. Nikola stayed celibate throughout his life, but had a few romantic interests. For example, it's reported that he and Katherine Johnson, the wife of Robert Underwood, who was Nikola's close friend, have exchanged letters. It's also believed that she had feelings for our Nikola, but he did not reciprocate. Another potential romantic interest of his was Anne Morgan, the daughter of financier J.P. Morgan, whose name is going to be mentioned throughout this story about his life and his career. So it's believed that she and Nikola had a romantic connection, but he did not want to lose focus on his work. So he was probably like, I'm working, I cannot hang out with you that much. I don't believe he was celibate all his life. Maybe he had a few girlfriends here and there, but he never was open to marry any of those girls. It was speculated that he also had a relationship with Sarah Bernhardt, a popular French actress, but as with any other speculation about his love life, we cannot confirm any of this, okay? So these are just speculations and assumptions. Now, what's most interesting about Nikola's personal life is that later in life, as I've already mentioned in the very beginning, he developed a deep affection for pigeons. He even claimed that he loved a particular white pigeon, saying, quote unquote, "I loved that pigeon as a man loves a woman, and she loved me." This statement has fueled speculation about his emotional state, and yeah, I can see why, but I don't find it weird. He probably went too far saying that he loved the bird as a man loves a woman, but I think he was just lonely. He didn't have anyone by his side, but we're gonna talk about that later. Now I want to touch upon his early education. Another interesting fact about Nikola is that he started his education at home before attending a gymnasium in Karlstad, Croatia, where he excelled. His talent was clear early on. He could solve complex math problems in his head, making teachers suspect he was cheating. As a young boy, he saw an engraving on Niagara Falls and imagined a giant water wheel powered by the rushing water. He told his uncle that one day he would go to America and harness energy this way. 30 years later, he actually did it. Talk about visualization. It works. However, you have to work as well. Visualization doesn't work on its own, baby. You have to put in the work too. Tesla dreamed of becoming an engineer, but his father wanted him to become a priest. At 17, Tesla caught cholera and used this situation to his advantage. So he got sick and he was like, I'm gonna tell my father if he doesn't let me be an engineer, I'm gonna die. Like, I'm joking, that's not what he did. He made his father promise that if he survived, he could study engineering. His father agreed, and Tesla later enrolled at the Australian Polytechnic School in Graz. At Graz, he studied mechanical and electrical engineering. And one day, his physics professor demonstrated a Graham dynamo, a machine that worked as both a motor and a generator using direct current, DC, as we know it today. Tesla suggested it might work without commutators, which were inefficient and caused sparks. His professor laughed and compared it to building a perpetual motion machine. Impossible, he said. But Tesla could not let go of the idea. He became obsessed with finding a way to make it work using alternating current, as we know it, AC today. The answer finally came to him at age 24 while living in Budapest and working for the Central Telephone Exchange. One afternoon, he was walking in a park reciting some book when suddenly inspiration struck like lightning. He saw the solution in his mind and drew a diagram in the sand, a design that will later become the induction motor. This invention changed the world, paving the way for the widespread use of alternating current AC, the system that still powers our home and cities today. So you can thank Nikola for having electricity in your home. So after his discovery in Budapest, he worked in Strasbourg and Paris, improving DC power system for electrical companies. He tried to find investors for his AC motor idea in France and Germany, but failed. He realized he needed to meet the most famous electrical engineer in the world, Thomas Edison. And I'm gonna make a separate video on this prick. I think he was a bully. I think he bullied Nikola Tesla because he was jealous at him, but okay. And at 28, Tesla arrived in New York City and was shocked by what he saw. He said, quote unquote, What I had left was beautiful. What I saw here was rough and unattractive. And when he came to America, he only had 4 cents. Can you imagine? A few drawings and a letter of introduction from Charles Batchelor, one of Edison's associates. New York systems, for electricity at the time were very chaotic, and Edison's DC power stations were spreading, and the streets were lined with dangerous exposed wires. People, especially children, were often electrocuted. Can you imagine walking down the street and a wire falling on your head and killing you because of Edison? But okay. Even Brooklyn's baseball team, the Brooklyn Dodgers, got its name from residents dodging shocks from trolley tracks. It's not funny, but it's kind of funny. Tesla met Edison, nervous but excited, and handed him his letter of recommendation. And the letter said, quote unquote, "I know 2 great men. You are one of them. The other one is this young man." Tesla explained his AC motor idea, but Edison wasn't impressed or interested because he's a prick. He was a prick, in my opinion, allegedly, and he saw AC as competition. This is what stupid people do when you try to help them improve. They think of you as a threat instead of an ally, They do the wrong thing of throwing you on the side and trying to beat you. And in the end, they always lose because they try to, become better than you, and they don't accept the help that you offer them, even though they know that your idea is better. And in the end, they always accept it. The reason why I hate Edison is because he hired Tesla to improve his DC generators, and he promised $50,000 if he succeeded. And as you probably know, everyone keeps describing Tesla and Edison as geniuses. Tesla worked by visualizing ideas in his mind, while Edison relied on the trial and error. Also, Tesla had a formal education, European education, while Edison was self-taught. So props to him for that. He was self-taught. That's one good thing, I respect him for that. But he didn't have to be a bully and a bad man, allegedly. Both worked long hours. Tesla from 10:30 a.m. to 5 a.m., surviving on just a few hours of sleep. After months of hard work, Tesla completed the project and asked for his $50,000 reward. So Edison, what he did was stupid and very vile. He laughed it off and said, quote unquote, "When you become a real American, you will understand an American joke." That's not a joke. That's stealing. Okay. That's unpaid labor. That's slavery. Edison, you stupid motherfucker. Okay. Tesla, shocked and betrayed, quit immediately. I would have done the same, but first I would have lit his factory on fire. I'm joking. Am I? So with no money, Tesla dug ditches to survive. Imagine working at a reputable company, improving a shitty product, making it better and not getting paid for it, and then having to dug ditches to survive. Can you imagine? So that's what happened to Nikola. That's why I hate Edison, because even in the past, Americans were, had this pass for doing shitty things like they do in the world today. So correct me if I'm wrong, but you guys have a pass for many shits that you do. Not the regular people, of course, but those in charge. So word spread about Tesla's talent, and investors approached him to develop arc lighting. He invented a new type of arc lamp, but his backers took all the profits, leaving him with worthless stock. Then A.K. Brown of Western Union took a chance on Tesla. He funded Tesla's AC motor project, and in a small lab near Edison's office, Tesla built the first complete AC power system. Tesla said, "The motors I built were exactly as I imagined them. Visualization. I made no changes and they worked just as I saw them in my mind. So he won the battle to create AC power, but the fight to bring it to the world was just beginning. Now, I'm going to tell you about another reason why I hate Edison. I mean, you know what? Hate is a strong word. I don't hate anyone. I just dislike him. I think he was a prick. So let's see why. In November and December of 1887, Tesla filed 7 US patents for his polyphase AC motors and power system, which included generators, transformers, motors, and lighting. These ideas were so original that they passed without challenge and became some of the most valuable patents ever issued, second only to the telephone. George Westinghouse, an industrialist from Pittsburgh and inventor of railroad air brakes, heard about his work. He believed that Tesla's invention could revolutionize long-distance power transmission. He visited Tesla's lab and offered $60,000 for his patents. This included $5,000 in cash, 150 shares in his company, and royalties of $2.50 for each horsepower sold. Tesla, eager for more inventions, spent half of the money on a new laboratory. Everything he earned, he was putting it back into his work to make even more great inventions and so on. So that's why I respect him so much. With Tesla's patents in hand, a battle between Westinghouse AC and Edison's DC for control of the future of electricity began. So Edison, not wanting to lose, started a propaganda war against AC. He claimed that DC was like a peaceful river, while AC was like a violent torrent. Edison even hired a professor by the name of Harold Brown, who went around electrocuting animals to show how dangerous AC was. Talk about cruelty. He was a cruel man. He hired someone to electrocute animals just to win this battle against Nikola Tesla. That's how stupid he was. So, and evil. To kill animals is one of the worst things you can do, in my opinion, especially animals that do no harm to you. Like if you go in the wild and you kill a lion after the lion attacks you, that's fine. But if you go around and electrocuting stray dogs just to prove a point, that's just, you're gonna burn in hell, if hell even exists. I think hell is here on earth. And Edison was one of the main devils. So during his time in New York's Auburn State Prison, a murderer named William Kemmler was to be executed using the new electrical chair, a method involving AC power. This was an effort to show just how dangerous AC could be. So Edison saw this execution as a chance to prove that AC was very wrong and horrifying, and this is why the method became known as Westinghousing. Okay? However, despite the bad press, good things happened for Westinghouse and Tesla. He won the contract to illuminate the Chicago World's Fair in 1893, the first fair to be fully powered by electricity. The fair was in celebration of Columbus's discovery of America. Westinghouse's bid was half the price of G.S. Edison's company, thanks to the cost effectiveness of AC. So, on May 1st, 1893, President Grover Cleveland pushed the button and 100,000 incandescent lights illuminated the fairgrounds, showing the world the power of AC. The fair showcases Nikola Tesla's polyphase AC system, and for the 27 million attendees, it was clear that AC was the future. After the fair, over 80% of electrical devices in the US were designed for alternating current, so he won the war. For many years, many have tried to harness Niagara Falls for power, but all failed. Tesla's vision of using alternating current AC finally won. The Niagara Falls Commission, led by Lord Kelvin, who originally opposed AC, asked for proposals. Ideas ranged from ropes and pulleys to DC electricity, but Tesla's AC system was chosen after its success at the 1893 Chicago Exposition. So wealthy investors like J.P. Morgan and Vanderbilt funded his project. However, the machines were untested and investors were skeptical because of this. So on November 16, 1896, the switch was flipped and power reached Buffalo at midnight. The Niagara Falls Gazette dramatically reported that the river flowed uphill. Within years, the system powered New York City's Broadway and even forced Edison's systems to switch to AC. J.P. Morgan tried to take control of hydroelectric power by pressuring Westinghouse, Tesla's partner. To save him, Tesla tore up his contract, giving up his royalties. This selfless act saved Westinghouse but left Tesla struggling financially. So this is one of his financial decisions that led him to becoming poor towards the end of his life. This is why he was poor his whole life when you really think about it, because he was letting everything slide. So you can see why he struggled financially, and it wasn't because he was someone who was spending recklessly. He was putting all the money back into his work, but he also, didn't invest it, and he let people take advantage of him. After Niagara, Tesla returned to experimenting with high-frequency electricity. In 1891, he invented the famous Tesla coil, which could generate ultra-high voltages. Other incredible firsts were the first neon and fluorescent lights, so he invented those as well. He even took the first X-ray photos and the first wireless energy transmission in 1890. He lit a vacuum tube without a wire. So Tesla believed that high-frequency electricity could transmit energy wirelessly across the world. Using Tesla coils, Tesla discovered that signals could be transmitted over long distances in 1897. And 2 years prior, just before a big test, Tesla's New York lab burnt down, destroying his work. Around the same time, Guglielmo Marconi was working on wireless telegraphy. His system was weak, but he later used Tesla's oscillator to transmit signals across the English Channel. Tesla's patents were granted in 1900, and Marconi's first application was rejected, but in 1904, the patent office unexpectedly gave Marconi a patent despite Tesla's existing work. Marconi, backed by Edison and Carnegie, became famous. He won the Nobel Prize in 1911, angering Tesla. When told of Marconi's success, Tesla simply said, "Marconi is a good fellow, let him continue. He is using 17 of my patents." So Tesla saw this as a good thing. He was putting the success of others before his ego because he thought that by using his patents, they would advance things for humanity. They would make better products, but they never acknowledged his work. They were just using his patents and stole his ideas and so on. Later, Tesla fought in court but lacked funds. Only after his death did the US Supreme Court restore his patent, recognizing him as the true inventor of radio in 1943. He even invented the first wireless remote control device in 1898. So he has built the world's first wireless remote control device, patented as a teleautomation. It responded to radio waves, making Tesla the father of modern robotics. Tesla saw beyond boats, imagining fleets of machines operated wirelessly, but when a reporter suggested turning it into a weapon, Tesla disagreed, quote unquote, saying, "You don't see a wireless torpedo, you see the first of a race of robots." His invention was too advanced for its time. The military showed no interest, and society didn't yet grasp its potential. Today, we see its impact in drones, automation, and AI-controlled machines. My camera died, so where were we? In 1899, Tesla moved to Colorado Springs to test wireless power transmission funded by John Jacob Astor. His lab near Pikes Peak had a massive 80-foot tower and a 142-foot mast. One night, Tesla fired up his giant Tesla coil, unleashing 100-foot lightning bolts that knocked out the city's electricity. Wow. He discovered that Earth carried electrical vibrations and may have detected radio signals from space. However, no one thought he was serious. Tesla convinced JP Morgan to fund a worldwide wireless communication system, but his true goal was wireless power. He built the 187-foot Wardenclyffe Tower with the deep iron pipes to transmit energy. Just as Tesla neared completion, Marconi sent a sample radio signal across the Atlantic. Morgan cut off funding and Tesla's dream collapsed, leaving him heartbroken and financially ruined. This is one of the projects that didn't work out for him, not because it wasn't going to be successful, but again, he was way ahead of his time and he didn't have the money to do it, to accomplish it. So in 1912, he had another failed project. So he designed a bladeless turbine that used spinning discs, which overheated and failed, with no major projects on the horizon. He spent more time caring for pigeons in his hotel room. He became obsessed with cleanliness, and his custom birdseed mix fueled rumors about his mental health. So everyone was thinking he was going crazy because he developed OCD and he cared for pigeons. Wow. I think he wasn't crazy, he was just sick and tired of the world. During the World War I era, he proposed using high-frequency radio waves to detect ships, an early version of a radar. He also predicted remotely controlled flying weapons that could target enemies, foreshadowing modern drones. You see what I mean? He predicted the radar, the drones, everything. His last patent was for a VTOL aircraft similar to today's tilt-rotor planes. He envisioned it as a personal flying vehicle weighing 800 pounds and costing just $1,000. The idea never took off because of the lack of funding. In 1930s, Tesla claimed to have designed a particle beam weapon that could destroy 10,000 enemy planes from 250 miles away. He sought funding from the US, Britain, France, the Soviet Union, and Yugoslavia. The Soviets showed the most interest, paying Nikola $25,000 in 1939 for part of his concept. Before his death, Tesla insisted he had perfected his death beam. After he died, some of his papers mysteriously vanished, including a notebook marked quote-unquote government. The FBI seized his belongings, and Dr. John G. Trump, who is Donald Trump's uncle, reviewed them and dismissed them as speculative. However, some documents were later sent to Yugoslavia, where they remained in a museum. Tesla's missing papers were never fully recovered, and we don't know if he really invented the death beam or just planted a seed for future weapons. His vision of using technology, however, to end the war remains unfulfilled. So, now let's get to the final years of his life. Tesla spent his last years alone, unfortunately, feeding pigeons in New York City parks. He depended on small grants and handouts from friends, including the Yugoslavian government, which gave him a modest pension. When he died in 1943 at the age of 86, he was alone and broke. But why did he die poor? So, as I've mentioned before, I think it was because of bad business decisions, because he refused to protect his patents and charge for some inventions. He also lacked a financial focus because he prioritized scientific discovery over money, and he also had some powerful enemies like Edison, Westinghouse, and Morgan, who controlled the business world. During the 1920s and 1930s, Tesla lived in various luxury hotels in New York City. However, he struggled to pay for his stays. His declining financial situation forced him to rely on the goodwill of others, including wealthy friends and admirers. In 1934, Tesla moved into room 3327 at the New Yorker Hotel. The hotel allowed him to stay rent-free out of respect for his scientific contributions. At least someone acknowledged everything he did for humanity. So by this time, Tesla was in his late 70s and living in near isolations, focused on feeding pigeons, as I've already said, and making some bold scientific claims. So yeah, that was everything on Tesla. I think we covered most of his life and his inventions, his struggles with powerful enemies in the US. He was never praised for what he did for us. And this video is dedicated to him. He was a visionary. He was also a dreamer, a poet. What do you think of Nikola Tesla? Have you heard all of this information about his life? Did you know anything about him? Why is no one talking about him? Why is no one praising him enough as they should? I also want to touch upon the fact that he fell in love with a pigeon. No, he was lonely. Probably he was lonely, and he was smart to the point to realize that receiving and giving love doesn't need to come from another human being only, as long as it's, like reasonable. Like, I don't support zoophilia or any shit like that. I hate pedophiles, zoophiles, stuff like that. I think he just saw a friend in this pigeon and he took care of it and it was keeping him company, so why not? This was all on Nikola Tesla's life. What do you think of him? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, share this if you want. If not, no pressure. And see you in my next one. Bye, guys.